What's up YouTube world? It's your boy Big Humble Life here, coming at you with another video. This one's going to be about what's it like to share a cell with people in prison. So I'm still here in Pinkenba Immigration Centre. Obviously it's another hot day here in Brisbane. It's been scorching hot lately. It's a little bit overcast, it's a bit cloudy today, so there's a nice bit of a breeze, but I think it's gonna clear up and be a really hot day soon, so best to stay inside with the air conditioning. So yeah, anyway, this one, I was kicking back and I was thinking, well, what could I talk about? And I thought something interesting to talk about with you would be my opinion on what it's like to share cells with people in jail. So for the 6 months that I was in prison at Wassup, which is Brisbane Correctional Centre, I was there for, let's just round it off and say 3 months of my 6-month sentence. And then I had an altercation with one of my cellmates. I won't abbreviate on that too much, but I might, depending on how the story goes as we run along. But I ended up getting transferred to Woodford Correctional Centre, which is a lot bigger of a prison, and it's way out in Woodford, which is like a country area, so it's far away from suburbia and the city. So yeah, so I started out my 6 months at Wassup, Brisbane Correctional Centre, or BCC. This is a small prison, reception prison, but I find it's good because you get things done a lot quicker there. Like, you get to see a doctor a lot more quicker. Because it's such a smaller prison, there's less of a wait time for things to get done for you. So all your requests get done a lot quicker, I found it at BCC. But the bad thing about BCC was the food was a lot more processed, really processed food, fake food, and wasn't very hot or fresh either. And what else? Yeah. So anyway, so the first cellmate I ever got when I first got to the induction unit at BCC was this young, impressionable kid. I won't say his name, but I met him on the way through processing in the cells, and he must have been about only 12. He was only 20. I think he was 20 years old, and he had a lot to prove, and he thought he was quite cool because I think he sold a bit of drugs and that on the outside, and he was actually in there for a DVO against his own mum, you know. And I used to pull him up and say, "Hey man, start treating your mum right, bro. Like, that's not on, you know. Like, be good to your mother, bro. Like, that's you know, if you want to be a man and not a little boy, start being a man and treat your mother good, bro. She's probably still washing your undies, you know. She's probably still cleaning your room." And he used to, you know. But he was my first cellmate. We met each other coming through the cells, and all us men were packed in this holding cell waiting to get processed through, and he was one of the only youngsters that was actually having a conversation and a laugh, because it was quite quiet and awkward for a little bit. But I found that this young fella was having a laugh and a yarn, and I thought, oh, this young fella's pretty funny and cool, you know. So when we finally got through to the unit that we were in, the induction unit for 2 weeks, because they put you in an induction unit first, for 2 weeks to find your feet and that for first timers. So I walked up the steps with all my baggage and all that to my cell. I got told what cell door I had, you know, which cell I had. So I walked up the stairs, put my stuff at the cell door, waiting for them to open. And this young boy's walked up to me, and I said, "Oh, are you my cellmate?" And I was happy, you know, because, you know, that's the first thing you're really wondering is, well, who's my cellmate going to be, you know? Like, who am I going to have to share this tiny little enclosure with, you know, this tiny little cell? Who am I going to share it with, you know? So I said, oh, you know, because I'm a big and humble dude. Like, I was the biggest dude in most units I went to. I was the tallest and biggest, but I'm also, like, really humble in that, you know, because life made me humble. I'll probably do another video about that sometime, about how life made me this humble, you know. Like, yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I ain't no saint, you know. I can be confident when I need to be, but for the most part, I try to show a lot of humility and humbleness. I think that's true strength in life, is being humble and being kind to people and having a big heart, because I do have a big heart. So yeah, so I embraced this young fella with open arms, and I shook his hand, and I thought, Oh, awesome! You know, I was in good spirits because I quite liked the young fella. You know, he had a good attitude and that, but he was just real young and immature and impressionable. Thought he was a bit cool. He was a real skinny little scrawny kid, but he was about 21 years old or something. And yeah, so anyway, we packed away all our stuff and we got along like a house on fire. And he ended up really like taking a liking to me as like a big brother figure. And he actually said to me one time, because he was having a little bit of a hard time, some of our indigenous brothers were picking on him, I think, in that, because he was a skinny little white boy in that. And he actually said to me one day, he said, I love you, my bro. And I said, yeah, I love you, brother. Because in prison, one thing you get used to is all the boys, like, it's real brotherhood in there. That's one thing prison taught me, was brotherhood, you know. Because all the boys, they always say, love ya. Like, that's the thing they say in Brisbane prison, like, love ya. Like that. In Melbourne, everyone always said, on ya, cuz. But in Brisbane, everyone sort of showed that brotherhood, and they're like, love ya. But anyway, one day, that young fella, he was like, love you, my bro. And I was like, yeah, love you. And he goes, no, really, bro, I'm not just saying that like everyone says it, like nothing. Like, I actually love you, bro. And I was like, oh, yeah, nah, awesome, my brother, awesome. Because, you know, like, when you're going through a bit of a hard time and you sort of see people as something to hold on to if they're good-hearted and they're humble, you know. So you try and be that shining light for people in this world, you know. So, yeah, anyway, that was my first cellmate. He was a good young fella. So in the 6 months I was incarcerated at both the jails I went to, I had 13 cellmates in 6 months. That's a lot of different fellas to have be a cellmate with. But I count myself lucky. I was really lucky, eh? Like, considering the chances that you've got, the risk you've got there of having like really shit, fucking bad cellmates that are going to really affect your time and your mental well-being and make just life hard. I had, like, out of the 13 I had, they were all good, you know, they were mad. I had pretty good luck. But yeah, oh god, I don't want to go off track with my thinking here because I'm doing well. Don't want to get this disrupted. Just want to relax. But yeah, so I had about 13 cellmates in 6 months, and they were all pretty good. Second cellmate I had, when I got moved to a different unit, I went from the induction unit, and that young fella, that cellie I had, he goes, when he heard that we were getting moved to another unit, like out of the induction unit, he goes, he looked real worried. He was like, oh, we're going to real prison now, get ready. And I'm like, oh yeah? What do you mean? He goes, oh, we're getting moved to another unit today. We're going to real jail now, like, because we're no longer in the induction unit. We're going to another unit, which was like a rough unit. And I sort of thought, oh yeah, well, fuck, I don't really care, you know, like, whatever happens, happens, you know, who cares, like, whatever. I'm not scared, you know. I don't say that in a cocky way either. I don't fear anything but God, really. I just take life as it comes. So anyway, we went over to this new unit, and me and him weren't cellies anymore. He wanted to try and be my cellie, but I wasn't going to go out of my way to try and push for him to remain my cellie. You know, it's every man for himself, you know. You don't really have the option to decide who your cellie, to remain with the same cellie all the time. It's whatever the guards say goes. So you don't always have that option. But if I did, I told him, I said, yep, sweet as, if we do have that option, hell yeah, I'll want to sell up with you again, my brother. Yeah, that's good. And he really was like wanting to sell up with me again, but I didn't really care. But so anyway, it wasn't in my power anyway to choose who my cellie was. So we got to this new unit, and yeah, it was a rough ass unit, you know, like it was rough ass. It was drugs everywhere, a lot of cheeky fellas, you know, just like ego, smart asses and that. But at the same time, when I walked in there, a lot of the Aboriginal fellas, because there was a lot of brothers in there, a lot of Indigenous brothers. A lot of them come up and shook my hand, and they said the same thing as the first day I arrived in jail, and they just, fuck, you're a massive unit and that, and like, and it was all good. But, you know, you got to be careful who you trust. People will smile in your face and shake your hand, and the next minute they'll stab you in the back and they'll want to punch your head in. You know, that's just life. You know, one thing I've learned about life is you got to be wary of who you trust, because sometimes it's the most humble one that you like, and you think, fuck, they're a good fella, you know, they're good, they're quiet, and they're humble, and they're friendly. But what I've learnt is sometimes it's those ones that'll turn on you, you know. So you don't really know who you can trust in this world. So anyway, they all come up, shook my hand, said hey go, and introduced himself and that. Anyway, so eventually went to my cell once again, wondering who's my new cellie going to be. And once again, I was pretty lucky because it was this like real. I use the word nerdy. I don't know for lack of a better term to use, but he was a bit nerdy and like real quiet and timid and a bit weird. And he actually would stay in the cell. He'd put towels over the window so it was pitch black dark, which I didn't mind. You know, I ended up doing that quite a bit in my cells, putting towels over the windows and having it really dark. It's just good, you know, but sometimes I could find that darkness would make you a bit tired. It'd be a bit too dark for you. So sort of, you got to let some light in to get that vitamin D, that light, sun rays through your room so you can feel alive. Sometimes too much darkness every day is a bit draining, you know. So, but this fella, my second cellie I had, he was like a real sort of weird dude, and I think he was a bit afraid of prison because he stayed in his cell non-stop for like weeks on end, bro, like weeks on end. I swear he must have like did his whole prison term, which was like, let's just say, my memory's bad, but let's just say his prison term was about 6 months like mine. And I swear he stayed in his cell in pitch darkness for like months and months, hey, because he was a bit scared. So once again, he was probably pretty happy to have a humble dude like me in that, as his cellie. Yeah, I just treated him good in that. I said, brother, you got to get out there and start moving around in that. And I think this fella might have had some mental issues too. I think he might have had schizophrenia. Actually, he did because he told me he did. So I treated him with respect. But yeah, he stayed in there a lot. He was real quiet. And we got along. So I used to, you know, he was my second cellmate. And then one day, one of the nings, one of the screws, one of the guards, prison guards, he was a Māori fella, Kiwi fella from New Zealand. And he said, hey bro, do you want a job? And I said, yep. And he goes, all right, I'll put you on the list and go to the workers unit. Now when you go to the workers unit and you work in either the laundry or the kitchen or like industries, welding, actually at Brisbane Correctional Centre you've only got the kitchen and laundry to work because it's a small reception prison where people go to get sort of processed, and you find out which prison they're gonna move you to. So this Māori officer, this Ning, he offered me a job in the workers unit. So anyway, I ended up going to the workers unit, and then my cellie there was this Aboriginal fella. He was pretty cool. He was a short little Aboriginal fella, country boy, hard-working country boy from the country, you know, fucking doing all that farm work and that. Good fella, real good fella. But I'm not going to elaborate on every single detail about all my 13 cellmates. I'm just going to talk about what it's like to actually share a cell with another man in the small confinements of a prison cell. So let me start by saying this: you gotta shit right there, you know, in front of them. You know, like obviously they're not going to stare at you. They're going to watch TV, and it's going to be no big deal either because you're all men and you're all there, you can't do anything about it, and you just get used to it, right? So it's nothing. The only problem is, you know, like, you never really get used to it that much because, you know, some of your shits can be worse than others. So yeah, like, you know you got a bad one coming. So you think, fuck, you know, like, oh, you say, sorry brother, but I got a shit, eh? And they go, all good bro, all good, you know, just do your thing. If you got to go, you got to go. So, you know, you got to shit right there while they're laying in their bed watching TV or something, just watching TV, and you know you're having a shit, and that's the shittest thing, you know. No pun intended. Getting funny now. So the main thing, I was pretty lucky. I had really good cellmates. So sometimes you'll know the energy in the cell as soon as they walk in. Say you get a new cellmate, right? You don't know who it's going to be. Say it's someone who's like real ego, real tough guy, fucking, he might just be like a young dude who's trying to be tough and trying to act up so he can impress his older homies or his older boys or his nation, his race or whatever. Like a young impressionable like indigenous boy I had one time, and he had like real cocky attitude and that. But with me being a Christian and that, I sort of tend to kill him with kindness and kill him with humility and humbleness. And that attitude he had and I could visibly observe how he's changing and how he's reacting to my heart and my kindness. And I know he probably thinks he has this hardness in his heart where he has to be hard all the time. But you see how people react to, especially when they're young and they don't know much better, they haven't got much wisdom, and they got all this built up animosity and hatred against the world, and trying to impress their older homies who are probably not good examples for them. You sort of watch and observe how they react to your humbleness and that. And you sort of find that they sort of don't know they're sort of taken back by it. They don't know how to really deal with it. They might think that you're a bit of a weak cunt because, you're not being hard and that. But the way I see it is, what's the point of me being hard and trying to battle you over ego and who's got the biggest, whatever. And what's the point in that? That's just going to cause friction and tension. And what's that going to come to? That's going to come to having blows with someone, isn't it? Now, I've never been a pussy or a bitch my whole life. I mean, one thing I've learned, especially in these last couple of years, is I'm not the hardest dude in the world. That's for sure. I'm a soft dude, but I'm also 6'7" and not shy of 200 kilos at times. Right now I'm about 170 or hopefully 165 because I've been working out and training. So I can fight because I've been in fights. I've been in street fights and I've always done all right. And I can be really vicious too. And that's why I try to remain humble, because I'm not afraid of them, but I'm afraid of what I might do to them. I'm humble for a reason. I'm humble for their safety, not mine. And I'm not trying to come off cocky or anything like that either. I'm just telling it like it is. So this young boy, he came in, he was a young Indigenous boy, and he was saying things like, he'd say little comments like to try and sound hard and intimidating and like he's a threat, especially because he was so small and skinny and I was so big. He probably thought, fucking hell, who's this big fucking Kiwi fella, because sometimes, between races and nations, there can be a little bit of discriminatory thoughts, but that's okay, because that's only what you've been taught growing up, It's a harsh world, so he might think, oh, who's this big Kiwi fella, he ain't gonna push me around. So he'd say little comments hinting like, oh, if anyone fucks with us, all my brothers out there will fuck him up, kill him. And this kid was only about 18, 19. So I just laugh it off, and I just remain quiet and humble, and I just talk to him, treat him like a brother. And he ended up softening up and having a laugh with me. We'd watch television at night together, and he used to like watching Home and Away, which is like a soap, a TV soap, and I don't like Home and Away, but I watched it, and I ended up sort of getting into it a little bit, as you do if you watch it with someone and you just do it, But and yeah, so that's just one example of sort of tension between different things. And one thing I learned about being in prison is and just in life in general, I learned from being in prison about life in general, was all the dynamic of a room and of your mind and of how you feel, and even of how you eat and how you diet and how you train and how much energy you have. The dynamic of all of that can change based off of who you're around and who you're in company with. So how you feel, how you think, how you eat, how you train, how much confidence you have, how if you feel sad or happy, that whole dynamic can be changed and rearranged depending on what kind of vibe and spirit you're surrounded with, So it's important to surround yourself with positive energy or like-minded people, You try to strive to be around like-minded people. In jail, you don't really have a choice. You're forced to live around people that you might not be like-minded with, especially if you're a Christian and you're surrounded by people who sort of have Satan tattooed on their bodies and stuff like that, and you sort of know that they're sort of indulging in all those sins and that violence, and they love violence and they love all that kind of stuff. They're proud of their crimes and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, keep drifting off, but this is good information. I'm in the zone now. This is what I wanted to be for this video. I wanted to get in the zone, and because sometimes I can be a bit lost and I can get a bit overwhelmed by the camera. I've also taken the time to come down the back here where there's no one really around, because I don't really like talking when there's a lot of people around. I feel like people listen in and try to work you out and try to think, what makes this guy tick? Why is he so quiet, you know? Oh, I'm going to listen to see what he has to say. So I like to get away and be in a private area so I can talk to you fellas out there in the world. So yeah, so back to what it's like to share a cell with people, right? So who else was an interesting Sally? I had a few weird Sallys. Just real weird. Had bad paperwork. Like, I actually read his statements when he wasn't there. I actually looked through his statement, and he was this old man, and he had some really foul sort of sicko stuff on his paperwork. So I ended up telling him he's got to go. I wasn't going to share a cell with him. I had an altercation with one of my cellmates because a few fellas were sort of on the low, sort of being smart to me in that. And one of my cellmates, he was sort of, he was laughing along with them, and I didn't like that. So they delivered their meal to our door, and they walked away, and they sort of made a joke about me, and they were laughing about it. And then my cellmate at the time, he sort of took it upon himself to have a laugh with them about me. So they shut the doors and that in our cell, and we had our dinner, and I was stewing in my head, because I do have some demons that I do face, but for the most part I try to be a good guy. But I was stewing on this, and I ended up lashing out and doing something that wasn't really right, but I do make mistakes in life. That's probably how I ended up in jail. So I ended up giving him a touch-up, yeah, so that's what got me moved. I got put in the DU, the detention unit, for a whole week. No TV, shitty food, and nothing but 4 walls, and like some religious books to read, some religious booklets to read. And I was in there for a whole week, but I didn't mind it, because I'm able to just be alone with my own thoughts and just meditate. So I didn't mind it, but a week was long enough. Yeah. So that's why I ended up getting shipped on a bus to Woodford, to a different prison. So yeah, so at Woodford I had a whole lot of different Sallys too, but they were all pretty good. How can I end it with some real insight towards what it's like to share a cell? I've had some real annoying Sallys that always yelled and screamed out the door, yelling out to all their mates, and they were real cocky and real boastful and real over the top, like just over the top, and that sort of would do something to my spirit, and it'd make me feel uneasy, you know. And then there was this push between power, who's got power over the cell, and that's sort of something that you got to face, and you got to come to grips with, and it's challenging. It's challenging, the dynamic of who sort of is allowed to, you know, throw their weight around and be loud and scream out, and it just, because everything echoes off the walls. So when this kid used to scream out, it used to echo, you know. But I ended up pulling him up about it. And I got pretty angry too. I said, I actually lost my temper with this young kid. I said, shut the fuck up, you know. And he was an Indigenous boy. He went and told all his Indigenous brothers. They all stick together in jail. And I ended up having like 10 Aboriginals at my door telling me that they'll fucking bash me if I keep messing with their young brother. When all I did was pull a young fella in line because he was being over the top, smart, like cheeky, swearing, just being real disrespectful with his mouth. And I was his cellmate, so it was hard to live with that. So I ended up having to go with this young fella, and then he went and got all his big brothers and all his cousins and, you know, all his people. And but I was alright. I got out of that one, and everything was sorted out. So I think this has given you quite a lot of insight so far towards what it's like to share cells with people in prison. So yeah, so I had 13 cellmates within 6 months, and they were all pretty decent, all pretty good. I was pretty lucky. But I think I'll leave it at that. There's probably way more information that I'll probably think back and wish I had have included. But yeah, I'm going to try and keep these videos coming for you, as I know they're real informative, and I'm pretty pleased with how this one's gone. So yeah, man, peace and love, out there in the world, man. Yeah, stay blessed. Be thankful for everything you got. Be grateful always for everything you got, no matter if it's a little or a lot. Be grateful, and don't go to prison because you'll be stuck behind these gates like I am. Alright, love yous.